asking questions of like, how do I diagnose, like what, like there are some questions in the chat around like, how do I
Okay,
do this?
here's how you know if you have a personality disorder. That was how I ended up deciding to train with the Masterson Institute instead of anyone else and the object relations people.
Yeah.
I was looking for, I was so confusing. Where's the difference between having some narcissistic traits and having a disorder? What's the difference between having what I had and having a full disorder?
Yeah.
Or schizoid adaptations? And the people that had the answer with, excuse me, object relations, terrible language, great concepts. So it's all about splitting. If when you like someone, you see them only as all good, having no defects at all, having nothing about them that you like or dislike.
Mm-hmm.
And when they do something that gets you, or you see them as all bad.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we have two binary categories, all bad or all good, with nothing in between.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then flipping, or one person flipping internally, I am all good. If I'm a narcissist and I'm an exhibitionist, I am the best. That's the all good.
Mm-hmm.
If I say, I am a piece of worthless garbage, that's the worst for the narcissist. Usually they use another word instead of garbage. I wrote a paper on the other word that is much more characteristic in all three personality disorders of narcissism.
You can use that word here if you, where we use
Yes.
language all the time. So if you want to go into that and use the word.
Sure. It's another chapter I put in my book. I wrote it for Masterson at the Masterson Institute for their newsletter. It's called Shit, Shame, and Narcissism. It's a short paper, and it gives examples of my clients who pervasively used the word shit, shitty, or piece of shit to express when they were self-devaluing themselves, I am a piece of shit, or you are a piece of shit. So if you've been told by one of your parents or lovers, you're a piece of shit, you know, I immediately, my mind goes, you know, let's hear if they use the term again. Anybody can say, oh shit, that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about dreams about shit, shitting on.
God, I'm such a piece of shit. Why did I do that? Or other people. You're
That's
such
right.
shit. You're always such an like if you're doing that constantly, that's in your language, that's what you're referring to.
So I'm referring to, yes. So so each of the three personality disorders, and I'm holding my hands up, it's binary. Yes. Remember, all good, I'll do all good, all bad. Okay, the way it hits. So borderline all good is I'm lovable, you love me. The feeling between us is one of love, mutual love. Okay, that's the all good for the borderline. The all bad for the borderline is you are a bad mommy. You're my abandoning mommy. I'm your ugly daughter. Speaking of me, I'm your ugly, unwanted, rejected, no one will marry daughter.
By the way, none of that has worked. None of that has served as true, by the way, for Eleanor.
Yes, but, and that wasn't said to me.
Yes.
But, you know, things have been said to people. So then you have the narcissistic all good is I am special, and you, as an I'll do the three narcissists because there's three subtypes. As an exhibitionist, I am special, and you are my audience, raptly attentive to me. And as a therapist, all you do is empathically resonate with everything I say and validate it for me. Validate every single thing I say, empathize with every moment I have and everything I do, and never criticize me. That is the all good side for the narcissist. The all bad side would be, I am feeling like worthless piece of shit, and you are my rejecting, hostile, sadistic, mean, whatever parent. It's usually, you know, and it could be on the mother, on the father, but it's really very strong. And the feeling between us is mutual hatred and disgust and despicable.
Contempt, contempt and disdain.
Contempt. Thank you, Anna. So then we have the schizoid one where the all good is I am independent. I'm independent. I don't need anybody. And you are willing to keep your distance. You're willing to let me set the distance, and you're not going to approach me unasked. You're not going to tell me what I'm feeling or what I'm thinking or take what's mine. And that's an all good situation. I am safe.
I'm the one who's in complete control over every single thing, and that's the only way I can feel safe.
That's right, of mine. I don't need to control you, but I need to control my distance from you and not let you penetrate me. Mm-hmm. And the all bad is I am in existential dread. Mm-hmm. I feel like I'm so disconnected from life that I'm entirely going out of existence on some way, but I'm in the living body. And my life is meaningless. I will just have to endure meaninglessness and loneliness and nothingness till I die.
That is such a distant, like I literally, you're talking about so many things that I literally can see myself, or like, and like that particular feeling that you're talking about is this profound dissonance between like the world and life is happening around you and people are laughing and you're like, it felt, I remember being in those moments where I'm just like not attached to the world, not attached to people, and can barely even be in there. And it's just like as though I'm so far from what's happening. This horrible feeling. All of the things that you're talking about, I sort of can recognize and see myself in. So, okay, yeah.
Just one thing here. So if you have this either all bad or all good, whichever form, and you have no nuances in between, it's like there's perfect and there's imperfect. Okay. And there's no nuances. You can get an A or an F. Yeah. That's it. There's no grades in between.
That's gentle.
And somebody, if you can project the F onto somebody else and see them as the failure and the A onto yourself or whatever. But if there's nothing in between for you, then you qualify for a personality disorder in the object relations system. And the goal would be to get you an integrated picture that's realistic and stable, and that allows you to see yourself and other people in a realistic, stable, and integrated way that includes both your likable and disliked points about you, both your good traits and your bad traits. And an integrated picture, if you want to know what it hears like, someone, I ask them to describe themselves, they'll describe, Anna, do a self-description that's integrated. Can you? Or you want me?
Yeah, absolutely, I can. So I am a confident, in like an alive, confident, dynamic, stubborn, at times can be shut down, sometimes judgmental, talented, boastful, like the exact opposite. Like I have like, it's multifaceted all over. I'm like a full range of human over here.
Right. That's a perfect example. Most of us, if we're truthful with ourselves, we can list our qualities, both liked and disliked, if we don't have a personality disorder. If you have a personality disorder, for safety, you have a split, usually because your parents were too extreme and they either treated you as all good or all bad, or they didn't have whole object relations themselves. They didn't get it. And so they couldn't teach you anything because they flipped. And they were unpredictable and unstable. When you don't have whole object relations. Now, I'll add one concept. Those of you who have been abused by people who claim to love you, what probably happened was they didn't have whole object relations and they didn't have object constancy. What does this mean? It means that when they're in a fight with you or they're angry or disappointed in you, that moment, the whole history and context of the relationship is background for them. They can't access it. They're in the moment of disappointment or anger, and you are seen as all bad. And therefore, they have no limits to how much, except their inner limits, that they will punish you for whatever it was that was done to them, whether it's verbal devaluation, giving you the cold shoulder, screaming at you, hitting you, abusing you in terrible ways. That's what's going on very often when somebody kills their mate and then afterwards in a fight, and afterwards is cradling them in their arms, crying, saying, but I love them so much. I can't understand this. I want them back. They lost whole object relations. They lost object constancy, which depends on whole object relations in the fight. So if you're with someone that doesn't have whole object relations, some people can maintain all good for quite a long time. Some people lose it every 10 minutes. With every word you say, like with certain narcissistic clients that I'm with, they can't keep they can't keep all good for a day.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
So in a session, they can go from all good to all bad with me. They can go from best therapist to worst therapist to screaming to running out of the room.
Yes.
I could say more, but let's go. You have people.
So my question to that is, oh God, you're kidding me. We have 12 minutes left. How is that even possible? Oh my gosh. Okay. You were talking and there were so many things. Like I was thinking, we as a nation have a malady of the soul. Like what you're speaking to, I could see it in our own society, what we are moving through right now, how we devalue and we just like split, and we have like, people who are just like nothing and a piece of like, we're right, you're wrong. It's just like how we talk about each other and ourselves. My question inside of everything you're talking about is, how do we individually create the nuance and the gray in between the black and white of what you are speaking about?
Oh, I wrote an article on that, and how to. I have two posts. One's posted on Quora, the short versions, because Quora favors short posts, and I get 800 to 14 or 1,500 words on my site today. So,
there's a lot of writing that she has about that.
There's a link on Psychology Today on my blog. There's an article called "How to Get Whole Object Relations as an Adult."
Okay.
And I had to get it for me. I was very close.
That was my other question, was how did you get, like, I know for me what I did, but how did you get it how did you build that spine up for yourself so you weren't like being, constantly reactive towards what was going on out there?
Well, for me, I realized that I was fairly close to it. So I had to figure it out for me. I had been in therapy, but no therapist had ever diagnosed me because I was so functional. If you're highly functional, you're unlikely to get a diagnosis unless you're a narcissist, because narcissists devalue many people publicly. So it's very easy to see their inner workings, what's going on with them. But schizoids, nobody even notices, and I can't tell. But for the whole object relations, I realized that if I constructed a photo album, I have good visualization. Some people have photo albums. Some people are list makers. It doesn't matter. I'll tell you how to do it right now. It's not that hard. You make a list or a series of photos that represent all the good aspects of yourself or your mate or whomever that you're engaging with. And you make a list next to it or of the bad aspects that you dislike. And you have two lists. They could be separate. And you keep going back and forth. When you look at the list of the good things or the photos, try and remember the good feelings that went with it. So I have a list in my mind. It's a movie in my mind of nice moments with my husband where he was being perfectly adorable or doing things for me. And I was already still getting it when I met him. We're married 42 years. so I have this lots of good things in the photo album. So when I'd feel myself start to sway, like we'd have a marital argument or whatever, I could bring up the list.
Mm.
That way I would see, yes, I don't like this, but I love this.
Mm-hmm.
So both exist in the same person. And let me take a step back and just pause for a second. Let me get out of fight mode and remember I am talking to someone I love.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if I'm talking to myself, if I'm seeing myself in an unrealistic way too, that's all bad. I'd look at my list of the things I've accomplished, my good traits, my value. And I do recommend you, depending on which side you need most, but you keep rereading them side by side. And if you're going to be in a situation where you know you might be challenged triggered to lose it, read the good side. You read it every day in the morning, do the photos so that you're prepared ahead of time for that challenge. And your goal is to try and stay balanced, or to rebalance sooner than you would have otherwise, to cut the time that it takes you to remember that you love this person, whether it's yourself or another person.
It's great. And then we don't have a lot of time, but when dealing with someone who is devaluing you in a way that's dramatic, how do you what's your
Stop it.
Okay, take for instance, let's play act really quickly. You're just a jerk and you smell of elderberries and you have like, you're just not that smart. I'm doing it not that great, but like you're not smart and I don't like you and like what's wrong with you and so and blah blah blah. And
okay, now am I your friend or your therapist?
you're either way. What's the difference? Let's say friend, because most people are not therapists. Let's say it's a friend or in a relationship with me.
Friend, let's have this conversation when you're a little calmer.
No, let's have this conversation right now.
Nope. Sorry, I'm not up for it. Bye. Boundaries. You have to know where your boundary is. Someone starts to abuse you. If you let them abuse you, they're not going to stop. They're going to escalate, because if they don't have whole object relations, you're the enemy. And anything they're capable of doing, they'll do. Not everybody's capable of much violence. Some people are easily capable of violence. Mm-hmm. I have pictures of people. Many people have been hit by the remote.
Yes.
Okay.
That was a favorite tool in my, that was absolutely.
Okay. So I forget where so I would just stop the person. I would leave till they can calm down. Now, there are people I like a great deal who could devalue me, have devalued me. And I don't have to sink to their level. That doesn't work. My rule is the sanest person in the room, the most compassionate being, has to put up the boundary, because the other person can't and won't. So this is my goal is harmless power. I don't want to harm anyone, but I want the power to put up a boundary and to protect others from the abuse. That the person at the moment is either out of control or they're not savvy enough to even understand the depth of the pain that they're causing. One other little thing.
Yes.
Narcissists lack emotional empathy. Now, this is really a problem. They might have a teeny tiny bit to somebody exactly like them but they pretty much are known. They can have cognitive empathy. So if you're a narcissist listening to this, use your cognitive empathy. That's the ability to think through, who am I with? Do I generally love them? You can use your cognitive empathy to prevent abuse. The emotional empathy protects to some degree, because if you have emotional empathy, it's like watching someone hit their thumb with a hammer. You automatically tense. You can't hit that person easily. it's very hard to do real physical damage to someone if you have strong emotional empathy. So, but it's not hopeless. It's hard to get. Object relations is fairly easy to get. It's just repetitions and repetitions and repetitions and willingness to keep going with it till you have it. And it's a recipe almost. And you can think of your own recipe on your own.
And I
Scrapbook.
also think commitment, like there's actually has to be on the part of the person who's like developing it, because it sounds on paper easy, but like the actual development is like creating neuronal pathways that just weren't there, and actually like it requires some commitment, like going to the gym or going to doing anything that's a little bit challenging. You actually have to be committed to that process for some greater good for yourself and for the people around you. We have it's unbelievable to me, 3 minutes left. Say whatever it is at the end that you want people to take away from this much larger conversation that is at play in ourselves and in the world around us. Anything that you want us to take away from this conversation.
Whatever, wherever you are, whatever has happened to you, there is hope for you to evolve with appropriate treatment and methods. There's both self-help methods and there's hope. I was abandoned many times. I was homeless from 16 to 17, living and crashing wherever I could on the streets in New York in the East and West Village. I got myself back to school. I was a high school dropout because I was abandoned. I had to get back to school. I had a little help with that. And then I went to college. It took me 7 years because I had to work at the same time, part-time. And I got my 2 masters and PhDs. What I want to say is it's not hopeless for anybody. There are times when I didn't see what the next move would be, but there's always a next move. If you pay attention to the way out, the path will occur and you will notice it. If you have your head down with victimhood, and as much as many people, we are victimized, but if your head's down from being in victimhood, you won't be looking around for the way out. I was lucky. My head wasn't down. I wasn't deeply ashamed. I was just abandoned, with what all that means. And I was looking around a lot and I could see way out. And I also, for those of you who are on a spiritual path, connect with the divine energy of the world. I truly recommend it. If you're an atheist, okay, fine, this path won't be for you. But for anyone else, going inside quietly, meditating, saying a prayer from your tradition, or even forming an intention to get help and wisdom, and then put your ego to one side, your own thoughts to one side, and ask that divinity or a form of divinity to tell you what's the answer to your problem, what you should do next. That's what I did, and that's how I got out of Greenwich Village.
I got out of Greenwich. It's like, it sounds like the title of a movie. That's how I got out of Greenwich Village. Thank you, thank you, thank you, not just for this hour, but for that spirit inside of you that instead of looking down on the ground and feeling sorry for yourself, which you could have in that circumstance, some curiosity, some part of you was like, no, I want more and I want something different, decided to go from that to this and just kept moving ahead. And whatever passion, curiosity, intention, whatever it was, ambition that motivated you, spirit, God, divine source, thank you for all of it.
Thank you, Anna, for giving me this opportunity to be on your wonderful show with your great energy. I love your energy. It's like bubbles. Audience, don't you feel it from her?
Oh,
She
okay.
has this like, super good energy. It came across her email. That's why we were in
Made me
contact.
blush profusely. Okay, great. Thank you so much. Thank you, everybody, for watching. There were so many comments. People were literally, you'll see the comments afterwards. People were literally like posting all of the things that you've done, your book, talking about how much your book has meant to them. Thank you for plugging in from everywhere all over the world. And I will see you again next week. Bye. Thank you.
Bye.